Well, where do you get your minerals in your diet? Food is medicine. We know that. We believe that. We trust that. But really, food is only as medicinal as the soil is rich in minerals. So, today, on this week's episode of Alter Your Health Live, your source of information and inspiration to promote your holistic transformation and the transformation of our planet, we're going to be talking all about minerals and why we need to focus on minerals when it comes to optimizing your health and also regenerating the health of our planet. So I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Alter.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Alter.
And we're excited to dive into this topic, which is one that we've kind of been geeking out on just more recently in our experience. Really, this wave of inspiration that I feel has come since diving into the topic of glyphosate and GMO foods and how our conventional farming system is really stripping the medicine out of our foods. So we want to talk about the solution to that issue, which of course is macrocosmic on the big, on the big level. It's transforming the way that we farm. And in that process, as we grow into that change, as we step into that transformation, there are some things that we can do personally, individually, on a singular level to really promote optimal health inside of your body as we, make this collective change.
Yeah, so if you haven't listened to our podcast episode on GMO and glyphosate, I would highly recommend it. We talk all about how the use of glyphosate in our conventional farming practices has stripped our soils of minerals and therefore leaves us with mineral deficient food and mineral deficient bodies. And we just briefly started to go into the health impacts of mineral deficiency, but maybe we should highlight some of those in today's episode.
I think it's important to realize that there is such an intricate, kind of profound relationship of the minerals that are found in the soil. And we certainly can, focus in on any one mineral and talk about all of the hosts of, benefits and important things that it does for our physiology, for our bodies. But it's important to know that these minerals are found in harmony in nature. So a lot of people focus on, I'm going to take zinc for my skin or my immune system. I'm going to take iron to build my blood. I'm going to take cobalt as a cofactor in the synthesis of vitamin B12. I'm going to take molybdenum to help me detoxify. And these are all really important roles for individual minerals. But we like to remind people that minerals are, found in our bodies and in all places in nature in this unique synergistic relationship.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, some of the examples that Ben brought up really demonstrate how crucial minerals are for our health, because if we do become deficient in even just one of these minerals, for example, if we become deficient in iron, that really shows up in our energy, in our physical performance. People develop anemia, iron deficient anemia, if they don't have enough iron. And it's a really obvious issue if you've ever experienced iron deficiency. And so, I think that's one of the most well-known, well-studied mineral deficiencies, but we also see this with zinc deficiency. We see a lot of skin issues and a lot of immune issues with zinc deficiency. And so if you consider the fact that there is this epidemic of deficiency in all of these important minerals, even the ones we haven't studied that much, gosh, I mean, what an impact that's having on our health.
Totally. So just to refocus on what, one of the important aspects of what glyphosate and GMO foods can do when we consume these products is it really comes down to the powerful chelation mechanism that glyphosate has both in the soil and in our physical bodies. And what that means is that glyphosate binds tightly onto various minerals, pretty much rendering them inactive, rendering them unable to fulfill their duties both in the soil and in our bodies. And that leaves us in a state of excess, in a state of toxicity, holding on to all these minerals in our bodies, but also in a state of deficiency because these minerals aren't able to carry out the tasks that they're supposed to do, whether it's being a cofactor for an enzyme or promoting other, physiologic detoxification processes, whatever it may be. These minerals aren't able to fully fulfill their duties in our body because potentially due to glyphosate toxicity. So what do we do about that? That's been really like we started this conversation, that's really been something that we've been pondering and trying to figure out ever since diving into the glyphosate GMO conversation. And there are a number of things that we can do. We highlighted how important it is to, of course, eat, organic produce, stay away from the GMO foods, try to eliminate and, limit the amount of glyphosate that's coming into our bodies, and choosing foods that are grown in a, biodynamic, regenerative way that, contains lots of mineral rich soil and these sort of things. But so oftentimes these kind of things are out of our control. So there are supplements, and yes, we said supplements, which is not a word that comes out of either one of our mouths very often, but there are mineral based supplements that can be really effective, really supportive for all aspects of health. And some of these supplements have totally outrageous claims of, being a cure-all for all sorts of diseases. And while it is not, these kind of supplements are not a magic pill in any way, they do have enormously broad benefits. So we could talk about the benefits for cognition, for, anti-cancer, for all sorts of, immune activation and these kind of things. We could talk about, narrow in on any one of these components in terms of how these, mineral-based supplements work. But when we understand, like we started this conversation, the intricate, profound relationship of all of these minerals in our earth and in our bodies, we can understand and appreciate the breadth and depth of the impacts that these mineral-based supplements have. So
what are these supplements we're talking about? And we're not talking about like any specific brands here. We're talking about the supplements that are purely based in humic acid and fulvic acid. And you might be thinking, what is this acid? Why would I take acid?
Yeah.
So humic acid and fulvic acid are, when you break it down, these acids are basically grouped organic acids that have been produced over years and years of decomposing plant matter mixed in with the bacteria in the soil. So they're essentially ancient oil, ancient soil, not
ancient
oil.
Soil. It's like, think of it as like the best, most awesomest compost that you could ever get your hands on. And these, basically it's called Silla G, is one of these forms of humic and fulvic acid that we get directly from the earth. And Silla G is specifically found in the Himalayan mountains and has been forming over the course of thousands of years. And this extremely mineral dense compound, which comes from the earth, provides an optimal harmonious relationship of all of the minerals that are ever found in the earth, as well as this humic and fulvic acid, which is essentially like really high quality compost. Mm-hmm. So think of it as just taking a little spoonful of the most mineral rich, nutrient dense soil that we could ever get our hands on, the sort of soil that really our food should be growing from. but is not, given the fact that we live in this culture and our food supply is produced based on economic, forces alone that, promote monocrop sort of culture and monocrop sort of farming and reliance on organic pesticides and herbicides and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, and one of the things I really like about Shilajit is that it comes straight from the earth. I mean, Ben and I always talk about how food is medicine, and the reason why we like recommending that people get their nutrition from food is because the food maintains this synergistic relationship between the nutrients and minerals in the food, so your body knows how to assimilate and utilize that nutrition more so than taking an isolated nutrient that's been created in some lab. And so the same goes for this kind of ancient soil. I mean, when they're looking at the composition of this fulvic acid, they see that there's this beautiful system of ionic bonds within the fulvic acid. And they say, it's so complex that they couldn't even synthesize this in the lab if they wanted to.
Yeah, it was funny. As we were kind of preparing for this talk, I was doing my best to nerd out and really understand what the heck's going on with this Shilajit based sort of supplement with humic and fulvic acid and the numerous minerals and other kind of compounds and amino acids and phospholipids and all these things that are incorporated into this soil based supplement. But really, it is so far beyond my head, so far over.
Right now, at least.
Well, I think it's beyond all of our heads, as human beings, because it's something that the earth, is able to create for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, it has this technology that is really out of our grasp at this point in terms of the dynamic and unique relationship of all of these sort of compounds and things that come into harmony. And I, like you said, Susanna, we believe so heartfully that food is medicine. And in my opinion, this is the medicine that is deficient in most of our food supply. So for the time being, I think that this sort of supplement, and yes, we are calling it a supplement because it's supplementing the food that you're eating, can fulfill and replenish those minerals that have been stripped from the soil, have been stripped from our foods due to our conventional farming practices. So,
and I like that you said for the meanwhile, because the goal is also to regenerate our soils and our farming practices in a way that's sustainable, that sustains human and agricultural health.
Totally. Absolutely. I think that, in the bigger picture, we should be totally food is medicine, no need for any sort of exogenous supplements for more than, acute kind of short-term sort of protocols or scenarios. But yes, in the meantime, this sort of product, this sort of supplement can be extremely beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a comment on our Facebook page that I just wanted to speak to a little bit about mineral salts. And mineral salts mineral salts can mean a lot of things, There are homeopathic mineral salts that are like cell salts that are really diluted, very minimal amount of minerals that are in these products. But the idea and the intention is to give to your body a form of mineral salt that can, remind your body how to effectively absorb and assimilate and use these minerals. So homeopathically, mineral salts can be also really helpful in reminding the body how to appropriately harness and utilize all these minerals. But in terms of the raw materials that so many of our bodies can be deficient in, going towards these soil-based, mineral-based supplements like Shilajit can be really beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's okay, I'd also like to we talk a lot about the mineral content of Silla G, but there's also some other components of fulvic acid and Silla G that promote health and absorption. And so one thing that I just learned that I find fascinating is that fulvic acid, which there's a high percentage of fulvic acid within Silla G.
And a lot of the products are, rated based on the percentage of fulvic acid that they contain. So that's how they, in the grand scheme of things, that's how they rate and rank and, kind of measure the purification process of the Shilajit products, because a lot of it is just kind of dirt. It's all dirt, but a lot of it is garbage dirt and not really the medicinal dirt.
That's going to hurt you.
Not that it's some of them may be filled with more impurities and toxicity, toxic chemicals, and
you have to source good Shilajit, because there's some false Shilajit out there.
False Shilajit.
But so one of the reasons why fulvic acid is so medicinal is because it actually makes the cell membranes more permeable so that nutrients can come into the cells more easily. I found that fascinating. And also, in addition to adding nutrition to your body and to your cells, fulvic acid does help to detoxify. It can bind onto heavy metals and help your body eliminate them as well. And not only heavy metals, but there's actually research showing that it's helping to detoxify radioactive toxins from the body. So that made me go, whoa, I haven't heard of anything else to do that. So
and the other thing that's just coming to me to kind of highlight in this conversation as well, these sort of fulvic acid supplements and like Silla G and others can be really supportive, but I think it's also important to speak just briefly to the context in which we bring these supplements into our body.
Oh yeah.
If we're living a standard American lifestyle, eating a standard American diet, these sort of fulvic acid soil-based compounds might not do that much and may in fact do more harm than good. Because what really is important is the alkalinity, acidity, composition or balance in the body. And that's kind of a poorly understood topic that we've touched upon at various points in these podcast episodes. But essentially, fulvic acid is always attempting to maintain an alkaline environment within the gut and within the body in general. And if we are bombarding the body continually with acid or acidic forming foods, and these kind of foods are like meat, dairy, and eggs, of course, and a high amount of grains can be broken down to create acid in the body, and processed foods, refined foods, sugars, and these kind of things. And if we're continually, bombarding the body with acid-forming foods while trying to, offset that with a fulvic acid-based, soil-based product, it just doesn't work that well. So we need to be cooperating with the body biochemically, in terms of that intention of seeking optimal balance with alkaline-based foods. That doesn't mean that you need to be drinking alkaline water or things like that. That's a whole nother topic, whole nother conversation. But plant-based, is really a great way to ensure that you're generally eating an alkaline diet. And that is the sort of diet that really harmoniously, synergistically cooperates with these sort of soil-based products.
Yeah.
And what else?
Well, we're getting some comments about links to supplements, I think specific brands that we do recommend. And so we don't need to talk about them, but should we include a link somewhere?
Yeah, we'll put a link on our podcast page. This is Alter Your Health Live, episode number 83. So alter.health/episode 83. We'll put some more information on Shilajit And another product that definitely is that we're not specifically talking about here, but definitely fits in the same category is Restore, brought to us by Dr. Zach Bush, who is a leader and an inspiration and really a hero when we're talking about this regenerative agriculture conversation. And really, he sees the solution, and Restore is the solution that can help us, restore our gut health.
Yeah.
Shilla G is an ancient sort of Ayurvedic, long thousands of years of history that this sort of medicine has been used to help support optimal health for individuals and cultures. So this is not any sort of new technology. This is ancient technology, and also
it's been used in Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine for years.
Millennia. So this isn't any sort of new thing, but it is becoming, it's a great solution. It's a great solution to the issues that face us in present day, even though it is kind of an old, ancient thing, nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also just called to say, we obviously, if you know us, we don't recommend supplements that much.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Ben was saying earlier. And here we are recommending this mineral-based, soil-based nutrition because we really do see the importance of it. And we're taking it ourselves now because we, just notice the importance of it.
And I must say that I feel something. I mean, I do. Well, first to speak on the initial shock to the system when you put that little dot of Silla G into your body, into my body, it is like, whoa. It is like electrophysiologic shocks throughout the whole body. And like in kind of this energizing sort of way, it's like, oh my gosh, that tastes like life. And not in a good way. It doesn't taste good. It tastes like dirt. It tastes
like really thick mud.
Really thick, like the
smoky mud.
Smoky, kind of poopy.
I don't taste the poop.
I kind of taste a little bit of poop. And I was told at one point, I remember I was introduced to this stuff like 8 or 9 years ago, and someone was telling me like, oh yeah, the good stuff actually has yak poop in it. And I was like,
well, that makes sense.
But it does make sense if you consider that it's essentially compost,
and
the fulvic acid and humic acid is really just the breakdown material of life. And that being said, it contains all of the essential minerals and compounds to promote life. And on that note, it is for, generally speaking, anyone and everyone. But it can, there have been some claims of interactions with various pharmaceuticals, and some places say you shouldn't take it if you're pregnant.
You shouldn't take it with tap water.
Shouldn't take it with tap water because it interacts with halogens like chlorine and bromide and fluoride.
And it should also be taken like at least 2 hours away from any other kind of strong herb or medication. Especially if you're taking a medication, make sure you talk with your healthcare provider about it, because for that same reason, how it makes the cell membrane more permeable, it may increase the activity of whatever strong herb or medication you're taking.
And it should also be taken a little bit away from food, like half hour to an hour away from other food or drink.
It can be taken with food, but it won't have as much of a strong effect.
So that's
lots of considerations.
Lots of considerations. So generally safe, effective for everybody, but individually, may be tailored to your specific needs and situation based on what other sorts of herbs, supplements, pharmaceuticals you're taking,
and
whether or not you're pregnant, of course.
So we always, with these kinds of things, we do recommend you speak with
a
healthcare professional.
Because even though it's natural, it's very natural, but that doesn't mean it's, a lot of natural products are just kind of, I can eat it like it were a food and I can just take as much of it. It really doesn't do much. But it's important to know that natural products are powerful, it certainly can be really powerful. And it's also important to know that each individual, we talk about bioindividuality a lot, and I really don't like that word a lot, because a lot of people talk about bioindividuality based on like diet and foods, and everyone's different, so everyone should have a different diet. And I don't really think that's necessarily the case. But in terms of bioindividuality and how these kind of products and supplements and individual compounds can interact in the body, I think it is a highly individualized process. So maybe try it on for size. Definitely consult with an expert, someone who knows more about this kind of stuff, if you are looking to make it part of your daily health regimen. And any other last comments or thoughts on soil-based minerals as medicine?
No.
The topic, the title that we're calling this is, Are You Mineral Deficient? And really the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Really the answer is yes, we all are. And we talked about why that is. And we also brought forward a solution. So, the thing about mineral deficiencies, and really all sorts of deficiencies, is they slowly happen over the course of years to decades to lifetime. And really, there's not, very rarely are there real red flag signs and waving at you in the face and like, this is wrong with you, you need to listen to your body.
Mhm.
Usually these are subtle things that become chronic over the course of years to decades.
Joint health, skin health, reproductive health. What else? Heart health, muscular health.
People can kind of have a shock, a stress, some sort of insult, whether it's psychological or physiological. And then they can be diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, then they can be diagnosed with cancer, then they can be diagnosed with any other sort of gastrointestinal illness or something like that. But chances are there is some sort of mineral imbalance, mineral deficiency, and or toxicity that is at play in the underlying cause, so to speak, of whatever condition you may have. So this is definitely one, in my opinion, the way to address mineral imbalances, mineral deficiencies, because like we kind of hammered in at this point, it comes from the earth, totally optimal in terms of the harmonious synergy of these minerals. And yes, try it out. And feel free to reach out if you do have any specific questions, if you do want support in fine-tuning and tweaking and incorporating these sort of products into your health routine. www.alter.health, all sorts of information on us and how we can maybe support you. Any other thoughts?
That's it.
That's it. We'll stop the ramble, and we encourage you to leave a comment, provide some feedback, give a thumbs up or like or whatever it may be. And we appreciate you and love you and look forward to seeing you next time on Alter Your Health Live.
Bye-bye.